Here we are, YouTube, in another shit house. And we're fixing a toilet today. It's a Kohler Rialto. You'll see it's a little one-piece Kohler job. It's actually a very nice toilet. Oh, you be careful with the lids. You don't want to break the lids. They're very expensive. And it's a Kohler. This is the Rialto style. There's a couple of different shapes that fall into this category. And what we're doing today is replacing the fill valve, which is the big doohickey that fits in there with the float. Okay, so when we're doing a job like this, we also want to replace the flapper, which is the... Where the hell's that flapper? There it is. Which is the rubber flapper that is actually called a flush valve. So whenever I get into a toilet, I want to replace basically everything in the tank, which is fill valve, flush valve. Some of these Rialtos, you really got to replace the gasket on the bottom of this overflow tube too. But this is the model that is not necessary. So we're just going to do the fill valve and the flapper. First thing you're going to want to do is come underneath the toilet and shut your supply valve under here. So shut it off. We're going to shut the water supply at the supply valve here. We're going to turn it clockwise and shut it off. And then we're going to come up here, and they call this the supply line, this flexible tube. Although it may be rigid, but we're going to grab it. And usually, like this guy's right on here. I'm trying to do this one-handed, YouTube, so... usually just grab it with your hand and loosen it up. But you may want to use like a small 6-inch channel lock type pliers. So once you get this supply line off, then you're going to want to take this nylon nut off the shank. And again, you may want to just break the grip of it with your channel locks. And then you could usually get it off with your fingers. And then we're going to come back up in the top. And we're gonna remove, as an assembly, we're gonna remove the fill valve and set it aside. The new one, and the Kohler toilets, let me just say, most of them you have to use Kohler replacement parts. In other words, like a universal type fill valve such as this would not fit in a Kohler toilet, would not work properly. So usually most Kohler models, you're going to want to get the correct fill valve from the company and install it. So although it looks different than the old one, it fits in it, and it is the actual replacement for this. It comes with a flexible supply line, and it's important that you use a flexible supply line on any fill valve that is plastic, like even these ones is plastic, because the solid copper supply line could put stresses over time, and months and years down the road could actually crack the shaft and cause a very bad leak, causing thousands of dollars worth of damage as it floods the bathroom and goes down through the ceiling and first floor and second floor and ruins the walls and the carpets and the rugs and every furniture and everything else. So it's important, anything with a plastic shank, you're going to want to use a flexible supply line. And don't over-tighten it either. They got a nice rubber gasket in the top, all of these things, and it doesn't need to be tightened much to have a good seal. Of course, you want to have it snug, but you don't want to go too crazy. And again, in the bottom, where it attaches to the shut-off valve there, again, they give you a nice built-in rubber gasket there, and you have to get it tight, but not too tight. So the tools you're going to need for this project is like a adjustable wrench. You're going to need your channel locks. And that's about it. So I'm at the stage right now where I have drained the tank. And drain the tank, remove the old fill valve, and remove the old flapper. I cleaned up the flapper seat with a soft rag, because sometimes there's some debris or like chunks of rubber from the old flapper which could give you a bad seal. So you want to make sure that that's clean. When we're finishing up this job, we're going to clean up this tank and everything as we're filling it back up. Make it look nice for the customer. We're going to wipe everything down, make it nice and shiny. And of course, when we're done with the job, we're going to wipe the whole commode, the whole shitter down, make it look nice for the people. Because I charge big money and I don't want no complaints. And of course, we're going to double check everything from turning that supply valve back on. We're going to double check it doesn't leak at the shaft, which is a common problem because these supply lines, and you heard me say it before, these supply valves, they almost never get used. Every bunch of years, you might shut it off to service the shitter. And then when you turn it back on, they leak from the, right at the shaft where it goes into the valve. It'll drip slowly. Sometimes it drips and spritzes out. But if this is the case, I'm just going to show you with this. I would never use a channel lock because it's going to scratch it. But this is they call the packing nut. And you would give it like a quarter turn. And that would stop any leaking that you're going to have from your, any valve really that leaks at the stem. So there's a little tip for you. So next step, I'm going to take this this part of the supply line off. Again, I'm doing this one-handed. I'm surprised I haven't put my finger in front of the camera yet. But we want to get this off because also we do not want to reuse these flexible supply lines. We always want to put a new one. Because it is just a rubber tube covered with braided stainless steel. I mean, it looks real strong and stuff, but it's just a rubber tube inside. And it could burst at any time. Even new ones could burst. So we definitely don't want to take our chances on anything that's got some age to it. I would say that this one is probably about 10 to 12 years old. And I definitely don't want to stake my reputation on a 10 to 12-year-old supply line. So, although the new Kohler one came with one, it might not be the right length. I have various lengths here that I carry with me, from the shorty to the 22-inch, whatever. So, back up, I'll recap real quick. We're filling her up to tester right now. We got the new flapper in there. Now, this flapper is a little different than some of you may have seen in that it has this piece of rubber across the back that fits in these like little grooves in the back of the fill valve there. I always pick like the bottom or the second to bottom one. And you're going to want to like, let me see if I can put the camera up for a second. You're going to want to slip this over the overflow, and then you got to stretch it out and snap it into little clips and then let it go back in. And when it's in, you'll know it's in because it just kind of like slips in there. But you got to stretch it out. So that's the only odd thing about this this fill valve. Also, the chain on the new ones, the chain is like the exact length. So you may have to adjust it like 1 or 2, but it's really kind of the exact length. Well, actually, that one's a little long. I'm going to shorten that chain up a little bit. And that's it. So the flapper's in, the fill valve's in. We've tightened everything up underneath here. Of course, double checking, always double, triple checking that no little leaks are coming from this shaft of this fill valve, this supply line here, or any of these joints. Checking everything, double check everything's tight, triple check. If you notice, this was too short for even the 6-inch flexible hose, so I take a longer hose. This is like an 18-inch hose, and I do a nice loop, like to the back of the toilet where no one can see, to get the excess out of the way. And this puts a nice gentle curve on the hose so it's not stressed at any of the joints for no leak, and a nice long-lasting professional job there. So that's a little tip, a little trick for you there. Use the long supply line and loop it underneath where no one can see. If you... a lot of times I'll just carry the long ones and I'll always loop them. I'll go for months like that, looping and looping and looping on these shitters here, these shit bowls, because I don't like carrying a lot of stuff. Now, we really got to get it to fill up to this line here. It's not filling up to the line, so what we're going to do is adjust it right here, and we want to bring the float up. So what are we doing? That looks like clockwise. We're turning clockwise on this adjustment shaft here. And we want to get that fill right up to the correct level. But actually I had to come in here another half a turn. We're going to come in here and I'm going to shorten that flush chain a little bit because it's not doing the right job. All right. See that when I hit it, it goes right down. We want that thing to actually float for a couple of seconds so that the bowl can properly flush. So I got to shorten that supply chain. So I can't do it for that thing to fill up a little bit. I've noticed that the toilet seat on this shitter is a little loose. It's got a little shake to it, so we come in here, the back of the seat, and we lift these little covers up. Sometimes you got to stick the edge of your screwdriver, lift that cover up, and we're going to tighten this screw if we can. That one's kind of frozen. That one, oh, they're kind of frozen, but I gave one of them a half a turn. At least I could say that, hey, your seat was loose. I tightened it up a little bit for you. All right, so we got a good level on this thing. It's right on the money. We got fill valves installed with double, triple check for leaks. We're gonna wipe this down. We're gonna put the cup back on. We're gonna clean underneath, behind. As long as we're here, we're gonna make it look nice. Professional job. Clean up our tools. Get out of here. Leave him a bill. He'll send me a check. He's a good customer for years and years. A Kohler Rialto rebuild today. Okay. So there you go. Rebuilding the Kohler Rialto. Simple. One of the most simple toilets to do. The important thing with these Kohlers is use Kohler parts, use a flexible supply line, and put everything in the tank. The fill valve and the flapper and the supply line. All new. Don't just like piecemeal do one or two. Especially if you're doing the big one, like the fill valve, you got to do the flapper. If your flapper's bad and your fill valve's still good, okay, just do the one. But if you're doing your fill valve, definitely do the flapper. And if you're doing the fill valve, definitely do the supply line. You don't want an old supply line and your reputation dependent on it. So, Kohler Rialto, one of the easier toilets to do. Have fun. Thanks for watching.